Hello and happy Thursday to everybody. It's Josh here with On the Wrong Lead, and we're going to do a couple things that we haven't done in a very long time. So this is going to be fun. One is covering Santa Anita, since Santa Anita has not been running for a bit. We got the joy of Del Mar, which was really great product over the summer. It was very fun to bet. I know I did pretty well there. I know Caleb loves to play it, and Mark loves to hate it. Much like Churchill Downs, Mark. You're not a big fan of Churchill Downs either, are you?
No. I am generally not a fan of organizations who are actively trying to ruin horse racing. So, and I don't, honestly, I don't feel like I should be the one that hates Churchill Downs and CDI in general. Shouldn't that be you? Like, didn't they like close down something that was near and dear to your heart, and and like drag you across the coals about it? And then they turned your feature races into derf racing.
I feel
Or
like
sorry, churf racing. Churf racing.
Look at
turned it into the churf, and
I feel like we've talked about this I think before. Like I use Brisnet for everything. Which is a CDI owned product, and it's just what I'm used to. It's what I like. I do decently at Churchill Downs, and I'm not going to bite off my nose to spite my face. Caleb, you love sayings like that. I'm sure you got something clever they say in the South about stuff.
I don't know if I have a clever Southern saying about that one, but I'll see if I can cook something up.
How you doing, Caleb?
Doing good. It's good to be back on the stream. I think it's been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's been a little
3
while.
weeks, maybe even. It feels like it's been forever since we've had the three of us on. So
I know it has been a while. So, but yeah, doing good. Stuff's been busy. Life's been busy. Kind of the slow time of racing, so I've been kind of taking it easy as well. But definitely no complaints.
Yeah, it's slow time racing, but man, this Santa Anita card on Saturday looks pretty good. They got some big fields. I believe Murphy says it looks like Saratoga used to look. So sorry, Mark. But yeah, no, it's going to be a fun card, I think, to take a look at. Santa Anita is always it's always been a little tricky for me. I know, Caleb, you tend to do a little bit better on those West Coast tracks historically. I think this year Del Mar wasn't that kind to you, if I remember correctly.
I had one big hit at Del Mar. I had a pick 5 for I think like 7,700 or something like that, which forgave a lot of sins. But prior to that hit, it was a tough meet. I thought, but Del Mar was like you said earlier, an amazing betting product all summer. Not maybe the sexiest, most glamorous, stakes races or whatever else, but just an overall just excellent product. Hopefully, Santa Anita can kind of carry that momentum. The field sizes don't seem quite as big, but it does seem like it's a pretty good card for Saturday.
Yeah, Charles already chiming in saying that the Santa Anita card does look great. Glad they have good fields. Mark, what were we going to say?
Sorry? Yeah, I was just going to say exactly what Charles was saying. The quality of the fields, these might not be as big as some of the Del Mar fields, but I think their competitiveness end to end is really there. And that makes it a really compelling betting product. And I think that's what we're all looking for. That produces big payouts and you can really leverage those opinions up. But no, it's a really good card. I don't tend to wax poetically about Santa Anita, but I thought Saturday looked real damn good.
Yeah. Something unfortunate just happened. I went to look at my glass, and apparently I did not do a great job cleaning it. There's like a little bit of like bourbon stuck in the bottom. So I'm gonna go get another glass so I can pour myself something. Mark and Caleb, you guys can fill a little bit of time while I'm back.
We need like the boo soundboard, like the boo, where the audience is like all up in arms.
The boo soundboard. Yeah. When Josh forgets to, what do you do tonight, Caleb?
So I have a pinhook. I didn't bring a bottle in, but I got a pinhook barrel proof. I think it's Bourbon War. I think is the vintage. They name a bottle after different horses, but Aubon 14, very nice.
Yeah, I got went into my local, and I was helping a friend out tonight. We were just supposed to get a frost, or very close to getting a frost tonight, so she was covering some plants, and happened to be right by my local, and they had a deal on it. So I was like, you know, nothing wrong with Oban 14. That's tasty stuff. So I'll pick
It
it up.
is, and usually, uh, it's not too expensive for what it is. I mean, it's a little more than like your Glenlivets or Glenrangies, but I think it's you're
Yeah.
kind of looking to make that next step up. It's a good bottle.
No, it's a very nice bottle. Very, very nice bottle. So, yeah. All right, he's still lost, huh?
I mean, he probably has like one glass. He has to go down and wash it before he can
Wash it out by hand. And I mean,
notice before he poured the bourbon, because that would just be a real shame.
oh, that'd be a shame if you have to dump the bourbon because you forgot to wash that. I mean, that's alcohol abuse at that point. It really, really is. I mean,
So, did you bet anything today, Mark, or this week? I heard
um,
there's some. Is there a pick six carryover at Aqueduct?
I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if it did. I know the late pick five paid about 60 grand. The early paid 200.
Ooh.
It yeah. Uh I thought the early was honestly easier than the late. I would imagine the late probably did carry given the sequence. It was a tough sequence, couple of what looked like short price favorites. And when I capped them, I thought they were the kind of favorites you could get around. I took a little dabble at Aqueduct, had a couple spot plays I liked, completely whiffed on all of them. I was in a couple of horse tourneys. I was trying to get a feeder. My one thing I would like to qualify for is BCBC. So trying to get a BCBC qualifier and tried to get into a feeder and failed miserably at that. So a bit of a rough day. And then I tried to play Churchill. And that's always a terrible idea. I just pushed some
Oh, you're
calls.
chasing losses at that point.
Yeah, I was, and I'm not Josh who can actually cap Churchill. So
Yeah, I cashed the nice little late double there for $4. Paid a little under $400. So
There you go. You do pretty well there, Josh.
yeah, well, the dirt is like today was just all speed. So that was
I
was
mean,
easy enough for me.
I don't think you have to clarify that it's dirt.
No, true. Good call. Um, let's what did I do? Here we go.
It was Lloyd. It was 54K the late. Yeah, I mean, either way, that was a tough sequence to have. If I had played it, I would have triple beat it. And when you triple beat a 54K pick five, that would have hurt. So I'm glad I didn't play it.
Looks
So
like the pick six paid 4 out of 6, so definitely a carry.
yeah, there is a carry.
Ooh.
I did have a question for you, Caleb. Which of these two new bottles do I open first? Do I open up the Doc Swinsons,
Ooh.
or do I open up this
Ooh.
Nashville Barrel Company that I got here?
I don't know anything about the Nashville Barrel Company. I do know that Doc Swinson's is a hell of a bottle. So, I mean, why not both?
I mean, I am opening both. But so the second thing that we haven't done in a while is watch me try to open up one of these bottles on stream. To be fair, this one is waxed, and when it came, like the little part, that they normally put on there.
Yeah, it like breaks off half the time.
Yeah, it's broken off.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I'm gonna get this open, but we'll start here. Race 6. We'll take a look at Santa Anita here first. Race 6. The start of the late pick 5. Santa Anita Sprint Championship. Going to go 6 furlongs. We got a nice field here, headlined by the return of the 2 Forbidden Kingdom, coming off of a bit of a layoff, was on the Derby Trail. I once again fell in love with a West Coast horse, and I loved Forbidden Kingdom. Trying to get into the Derby, and then he ran into Taiba, Messier, and I mean, hell, he even got clowned by Happy Jack. So they decided to lay him off a little bit, cut him back, and bring him back here in this spot. So he's going to be your 9 to 5 morning line favorite here. Caleb, where did you kind of land here?
Yeah, so this is a race that I want to say I had a hard time with, but I won't really say that I didn't really have a hard time. It's just that I don't like the short prices in here. I get why Forbidden Kingdom is your favorite at, what is he, 9 to 5, but that horse is just not for me. I mean, he's a horse that is going to get bet off the connections and the fact that he has all those ones in his running lines. But if you look back at his record, it doesn't seem to be as impressive as it was in the spring of this year. I mean, who has he really beaten? I mean, Pinehurst, Doppelganger, Happy Jack, McLaren Vale. I mean, these are just bums. And I'm just not really sure that off a huge layoff and a horse that has had some soundness issues, which required him to take some time off, I don't know that this is a horse I really want to back at a short price. even if he is the likely controlling speed in here and getting some strong connections. So I actually landed on both of the Amador Sanchez horses, the 5 and the 7. I'll go probably give the top billing to the number 7 Toto Fino in here. This is a horse that only raced once domestically, but has put together a pretty impressive resume while racing in South America down in Chile. Came here at Del Mar and ran in an N1X allowance race and ran a pretty good race. I mean, that speed figure came back pretty respectable. The horse showed good speed, was able to gut out a nice win, and that race has come back pretty live. There's been 3 horses to come back out of that September 3rd race at Del Mar and race again. All 3 of them have won, including the show horse Sunrise Journey. So I'm thinking that's a pretty lively race that might be a little better than it looks. And I'm just kind of looking for maybe a new shooter in here when I'm not really trusting the favorite. I'm not really sure that CZ Rocket's best days aren't quite behind him. So I kind of like both of the Sanchez horses. The one thing that does give me pause is the fact that Hector Barrios, who rides all of Sanchez's best mounts typically, ends up on the other one, who does seem a little more questionable. But I'm going to use them both. I'd probably give top billing to the 7, but I find them both very interesting in here.
Yeah, I mean, I cap through this, and I understand all of his or of Caleb's hesitations with Forbidden Kingdom. It just seems like, yeah, on paper he's he's controlling speed in this race. Your wand sticks, and I don't want to get too creative in trying to beat Forbidden Kingdom. I think if I'm gonna get, so he's gonna be kind of a lone A type horse on any of my tickets. I will say though that I was sort of interested in the 5 Super Ocho, the other of the. I'll brutalize his name, so I'm not even gonna try. Hector Barrios had ridden both of the. Both of these, the 5 and the 7, to wins on the dirt, and Barrios, I would assume, then has choice, and he ends up on the 5. I realized, the win he did have on this horse was at Mountaineer, and we know that Mountaineer shippers can't win when they come to California.
Never.
But never. But I did think it was interesting that Barrios, who seems to do really well for the trainer, ends up on this 5 Super Ocho versus the 7, who he has recency in the recent win on. So if I'm going to try to get around Forbidden Kingdom, it's going to be with somebody like the 5 Super Ocho.
Mark, can you? I don't have it on Brisnet. Can you? Do you know if there was a trainer change when the 5 horse came from South America to the States?
Yes, the 5 was trained by Marco Antonio Contreras Lopez.
Okay. I just asked because it seems odd that you are running this horse in extended distance dirt and turf races, and then all of a sudden coming back to the very sharp 5.5. So I kind of figured there may have been something at play there, but okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's also sort of weird. I mean, the pedigree on that one doesn't really seem to be a sprint pedigree. It's sort of a head scratcher, but I mean, obviously pedigrees don't always scream at, I don't know, what is Briz saying as far as pedigree wise, Josh?
Briz thinks that this is the horse's best.
Okay,
or
cool.
like that. This is a plus move for the breeding on the horse.
Okay. It is a Chilean bred, and there's not many sample sizes to go off of, to be fair.
The Dam Sire Grand Reward has a number of starts, so and was looks like a average winning distance of 6.7. So you would think it's a miler type. Yeah, I did this earlier this year, but I don't know, man. I'm going back to CZ Rocket, I think, in this spot. I know generally with sprint races, they don't tend to fall apart, and closers getting there aren't that great. But I did see a bit of speed in this race with Forbidden Kingdom and Kid Corleone, kind of as your high E types, and both Super Ocho and Totofino have high E2 speed ratings here. So I was kind of interested in looking for a horse coming off of it. I thought that this would fit nicely here for CZ Rocket. I'm not like super thrilled about the price. I mean, last time he ran 7 furlongs and was 16.5 to 1. Now all of a sudden he's 7 to 2, showing back up here. But I don't know. I thought like run style that CZ Rocket fit a little bit. I did also give a bit of a look to this 4 None Above the Law, the other Peter Miller horse. And kind of just for the same thing, has won a couple of nice, or did win a nice race at Del Mar last year, 7 furlongs in the dirt. Has predominantly been running on the turf. The Cary Grant during the Bing Crosby meet last year. Speed figure wise was fine. I mean, I did finish 4th by 2 and 3/4 of a length, so it wasn't not anything to write home about. But the horse has shown a little bit on the dirt, so coming from off of it, I thought this would be just another interesting horse from kind of like a race flow perspective. But you know, I- I was kind of looking for alternatives to get around Forbidden Kingdom. I mean, a speed horse with this kind of class and speed figures is usually tough to beat, especially against a lot of unproven horses. I think in this race, I mean, CZ Rocket, like you said, Caleb, but his best days might be behind him or are behind him. So he's kind of a shell of his former self, and then. You just kind of got a bunch of also rans in here, horses that have run in some graded stakes, but have not necessarily produce any kind of results. So I think Forbidden Kingdom might be a little bit tough to beat. If I'm going to try and beat him, I'm going to go with someone coming from just off of it in the pressing race style here.
Josh not using the E8 and Mark using the E8.
Hey, weird shit happened this week. What can we say? Hurricane hits Florida, and who knows, dude? It's just
Whole world's upside down.
Yeah. Anything else on this race you guys want to talk about?
Nothing really.
No.
Okay. Charles saying that he doesn't trust Barrios at Santa Anita yet. His riding skills might not be as impressive as Santa Anita versus Del Mar. I mean, I think he's going to have. I think he should be fine. I don't really think anything. It's not like the jock colony is like grossly changed or anything like that. I think he's going to have the same soft jock colony he's had.
I'm sure his timing needs to be a little different. I could see it taking him a week or two to get up to speed, kind of learn the surface, learn where he needs to move, and how it plays. But I'm sure he's doing morning works to get a feel for the surface. I really, and honestly, he was an absolute aberration this year at at Del Mar. He was winning when he should not have been. I realized he had a pretty big dry spell sort of in the middle of the meet. He started off at a really feverish pace, had a bit of a dry spell, and then picked it back up late. But I don't see why he shouldn't be able to transition. It's layouts are different, but it's still California turf, so I still think it plays similarly.
All right, race 7, Eddie D, 6.5 furlongs going down the hill, and this is a grade 2. So let me get all down here. It looks like your favorite's going to be the 4 Gregorian Chant. Has Gregorian Chant ever run down the hill? Well, a couple times.
Yeah.
A couple times is what, 1 for 2. Lost this race last year and then came back in an optional claimer. Lieutenant Dan clowned him last time down the hill. So, Mark, where did you kind of land here?
Yeah, I thought this was kind of an interesting race. I'm sure you guys are expecting me to land on Gregorian Chant with Pasta up, but I actually didn't. I ended up landing on the 2 Air Force Red. I thought Air Force Red was really, really interesting in here. It seems this 6.5 furlong distance down the hill is just something he absolutely relishes. 3 for 3 at the distance, 3 for 5 at Santa Anita. Espinosa was up for one of those wins. It's a bit of a class test here, right? But I think he should be able to sort of stalk the pace. He's going to have somebody like Goliad and I see Dubai Key probably out on the front end, kind of sit that pocket trip, should get that first move. And Victor's been riding real well. So I thought Air Force Red in here made an absolute ton of sense. Time Form thought really highly of both of those down the hill races, and I think if he doesn't probably need to take a step forward off from that Del Mar mile performance. So I realized didn't win that one obviously, but I think it's a touch softer company in here. So I thought Air Force Red was super interesting in this spot.
Caleb?
Yeah, I have to begrudgingly agree with Mark. Air Force Red is also my top pick in here for kind of all the reasons Mark said. The downhill course at Santa Anita plays a little unique. I mean, it's not like Kentucky Downs levels of unique, but it is different than most other configurations in the country. And some horses just really like it, and some horses don't. Air Force Red seems to really, really like this configuration. 2 for 2 down the hill at Santa Anita. Uh, Ran a huge race last time out. Actually, was able to kind of slam on the brakes after going way too fast in the opening quarter. Was able to stalk a little bit, put away Goliad, and then almost looked a winner turning for home before getting run down by a pretty nice horse in Hong Kong Harry. So yeah, I'm with Mark. I think Air Force Red would be the horse to beat in here, just for the sake of having some variety. I would give another chance to Goliad, who probably just got a bit of a silly ride last time out by Juan Hernandez. Just way, way, way too fast. And that run style is extremely difficult to be successful with at Del Mar. That early speed style is way better at Santa Anita. It doesn't seem like there's as much speed in this race as there is in that previous race in the Del Mar Miles. So if Air Force Red's connections and Victor decides to take back, I could see Goliad getting a little bit loose out there and maybe finding a little bit more in the tank late, depending on what Hector does in the on the 8-horse Dubai Key.
Interesting. Yeah, I landed on Dubai Key. You didn't take the I didn't take the E8 last race, so I had to take the E8 this race. And one thing I will say that I've noticed, at least at down the hill, is outside speed's usually pretty good. So Dubai Key is going to get that outside post. He's I think, going to get out there on the lead, and you got Hector Turf God Barrios aboard. I don't see him looking back. We'll kind of forget. I mean, he's got 5 furlong speed, so I mean, going 6.5, I think is going to be kind of a cakewalk getting the lead with this horse. So, I mean, obviously there's always a concern that maybe goes too fast, or a horse like you said, like Goliad, or who has shown speed going 6.5, or Mark's horse, the 2 Air Force Red, also has shown speed going 6.5 down the hill. So yeah, I mean, this could just turn into a clown fiesta going down the hill with everyone just pushing for the lead. But I'm gonna take this outside horse, Dubai Key. The 8 is my top pick. I see Charles B here is asking about this 7 horse. What makes Sammy run for Mark Glatt and Joe Bravo? Did you guys give this horse any thought?
That's my other B, actually. Or I say B. That's the only other horse I have any interest in is that 7 horse. I do think the horse fits in here. Had some trouble last time out against better company with Lieutenant Dan, and then just probably finds a flat 5 a little too sharp. I think this 6.5 here and getting back to Santa Anita, where he's had most of his success, makes sense. So yeah, I do like this horse quite a bit.
Yeah, I didn't like Pasta getting off. I thought the horse was just a little bit too slow on the figures that I'm using. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't talk anybody off the horse, but just when I felt like I was reaching for it. But again, this is a horse that I don't think has ever run down the hill at Santa Anita. So, certain horses handle it, and maybe maybe ends up being one that does. I will say the price that I did like a little bit was the 9 Tango Tango Tango. I thought that horse, horse that's been running quite a bit further, and I don't really know why. Sort of just doesn't seem like he's been handling the distance. I thought getting a cutback. He had a pretty impressive performance at 7.5 at Gulfstream. Back in March. So I think this is a horse that maybe they're returning back to a better distance. Probably needs a little help on the front end. Probably needs the 2 speeds to kind of hook up, melt this down a little bit to sort of set up his closing kick. But I thought Tango 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 was of the prices the one that I want to have a little bit going through.
Yeah, I was really high on that horse last race. Like, I really thought he was a super live long shot, and didn't really get the right trip. I thought he moved too early, but I think it's, looking back, Sisterson's barn has been extremely cold since trying to ship out west. So as much as I did like him last time, I think I'm gonna have to probably wait until Sisterson proves he can win in California before I get too excited. But I'm sure you will get a that horse, so I'm not going to beat you up on that.
Yeah, no, I don't hate that take at all. I think that's probably the proper take, is make him kind of prove it with it. His barn's actually live out west.
So I do believe that Mark, this is one of the few alerts that I have built in that do not involve you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a My Racehorse in this race, the 1 lane way.
We had one on the last as well.
We
You
did.
did?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think lane way here is a bit of a takeout reducer. I really don't know what they wanted. They just like keep running this horse. I don't really know. We've figured out what this horse wants to do, and the horse is 5. It's a 5-year-old gelding. So, yeah, I mean, I think this might just be a little bit too. I don't know. I don't know. This horse is going to get slammed either way. Is going to be stuck on the inside post, which is awful going down the hill. Yeah, I mean, this is like a gift to bettors that this horse is in this race and in this post. So hopefully people look elsewhere. Caleb, you're going to correct me. Is inside post not good?
No, I wanted to actually add to what you said because I read an article by our friends at HRN, and they seem to conclude like, there's no post bias going down the hill. And I think it's tricky depending on how you slice the sample size as to what conclusion you draw. But I think down the hill from the data sets that I've looked at, and it's been probably a year since I've looked, so maybe it changed a little bit. But in general, in fields that are like 7 or 8 horses or greater, the inside is just terrible. In small fields, it doesn't really make that big of a difference. Briz sort of seems to agree the inside is kind of deaf here. So I agree with you, Josh. I'm just adding some clarity there. There is some color there, I guess. That I think it's a little field size dependent, but in a field of 9, I would not want a horse in the rail.
And our friend PDT joined in just in time for the sister stint.
Hey, I talked up the
hate.
Sisterson horse. Somebody else in the stream beat up the poor Sisterson, and then I may have piled on.
Yeah, I did. And Caleb, I think I tagged you earlier on Twitter. I did have to bring up the story about Sarah joining right before we were going to go live. You know, we try and get on a couple minutes early, just kind of talk through stuff. And I think I'd asked Caleb about some horse, and Caleb's like, I absolutely hate this horse. This horse has got no chance to win. And Sarah joins, and she's like, that's my top pick in that race. So it's just pretty funny, but
and then she hasn't been on since.
yeah.
I'm sorry, Sarah.
Race 8, the Awesome Again. We're gonna be going a mile and 1/8 here for 3-year-olds and up. Grade 1, Country Grammar, 8-5 morning favorite. I think you're deserving favorite in this race, but other people may think otherwise because of the last race. You got a couple other short prices here in Royal Ship and Express Train, and then you got the Funded, Tripoli, and etc. going longer here. I mean, I landed on Country Grammar here. I don't know. Before he just got absolutely thrashed by Flightline, I thought that he was probably the best handicap horse going. Unfortunately, now I think a classic distance handicap horse. I mean, I think Life is Good is a really, really nice horse, but I don't think he can go 1.25 miles. Yeah, after that, just absolute thrashing by Flightline, and just I mean, first of all, yes, I am betting against Flightline in the Breeders' Cup because I'm an idiot. You know, I think that kind of brought my expectations on Country Grammar down a little bit, but I mean, he still beat Royal Ship by what, like 7 lengths or something? It was something crazy. So I don't know. I have a hard time looking at anybody else in this race here. I did kind of give a closer look to Express Train, you know, as maybe the other type here. I mean, I think that this is the right distance for Express Train. You know, he hasn't missed a trifecta in his 5 tries going this distance. You know, he seems to like Santa Anita well enough, being 4-4-2 in 11 starts. So, you know, I'm going to give maybe Express Train a closer look here, especially if we get, you know, 7-2, get a nice price on him. But I have a hard time getting around Country Grammar here. Caleb, where did you kind of land here?
I'm with you, Josh. I'm not going to really overthink this race. If you take Flightline out of the equation of the Pacific Classic, Country Grammar is a no-brainer to win this race. I mean, he would have won the Pacific Classic by 7 lengths, and it's a Bob Baffert, Juan Hernandez horse. I mean, he posted I think he tied his career best time form speed figure, or just about. It was right around 130. Like it's deceiving to see he got beat 19 lengths, but Flightline just put together a race that most of us probably haven't ever seen before in our lives, and very well may not see again for a very long time. So you almost have to evaluate that race like Flightline wasn't a part of it. And if you do that, I think you forgive Country Grammar's first start back from Dubai in the San Diego handicap. He probably needed that start. He's always been a horse that runs better second off the layoff. And I think he's a lot sharper here. I'm not really going to overthink this one. I think Country Grammar is the horse to beat. I don't think the distance hurts him at all cutting back, and he's done just fine at Santa Anita. I mean, I have a passing interest in Royal Ship and Express Train, but those are kind of the usual suspects, a little bit on the boring side. I don't have anything creative here. Country Grammar will be my only A horse in this field.
You guys heard it here first. We are never going to see a race like that ever again. Flightline will retire before the Breeders' Cup Classic, straight from Caleb's mouth. Mark, what are you thinking here?
I have nothing creative to add to this. Saw it exactly the same way you guys did. I think the race really goes through Country Grammar. Express Train makes a lot of sense, but I think it's Express or Country Grammar's race to lose. The only thing I thought was a little interesting with Country Grammar was that Johnny V didn't fly out for the mount. Maybe they're just planning on keeping him on the West Coast a little more and being less. I don't know, whatever. They're not going to ship. I don't know why Johnny V didn't come out, but. You're getting Juan. It's not like you're getting a downgrade there. So yeah, I think Country Grammar made the most sense in here. Would want some coverage to fly or to Express Train as well. But nothing creative to add.
I think Johnny V went to Churchill to ride Happy Saver and a couple other horses, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I think he is on Churchill. I remember seeing him there. He was at one of the other tracks I capped. So yeah,
he's on Happy Saver and
7,
8, 9, 10.
Untreated. He has a couple mounts in the stakes races.
Yeah, Untreated. There you go. Charles asking about Defunded. He's asking, is Defunded in the race? He said no love for Defunded here.
The other Baffert. No, I think I don't know. I think I guess it's the harder question is what's Defunded done that makes you think that he belongs in this field? Neither of his last two performances really did anything, and sort of I don't know what the excuse is. And I mean, needs a massive rebound race. He's going to take money just off the people trying to find the other Baffert angle. I just can't get there at all.
Yeah, he's not for me either. I struggle to get there. I liked him last race a little bit. And I don't like the fact that he was so forwardly placed. I kind of wanted him to close, but I thought I picked the other Baffert, but instead I picked the Baffert when the Baffert I thought would be the Baffert ended up being the other Baffert, so I got it Bafferted.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you want the other Baffert in this race, I think you probably are looking at the 3 High Connection, who's a more lightly raced lightly raced colt, a horse that, has run some, never been worse than second, in a horse that you're probably going to get more of a price on and may still have some upside. I kind of think at this point we know what Defunded is, and I just don't. I can't get to Defunded at all.
I had to find out when I'm looking at Defunded and seeing that Defunded finished second in the Gold Cup. I just see who won it. Who the fuck is There Goes Harvard?
I think he's a turf horse.
Like I remember, like good horses winning the Gold Cup. Like didn't Accelerate win the Gold Cup? Or was it City of Light? One of the two of them won the Gold Cup. Like I thought this was a good race, and I literally had to Google who There Goes Harvard is. What a year, man. I'm not super interested in Defunded here. I'm really just interested in the two there. So, Charles says a fluke horse.
Yeah,
because he ran to San Diego and got just like clowned. Yeah. Finished 9th.
Anybody give a look? I know we're ready to move on, but we're making good time. To the number 8, Slot on Andy. I don't think this horse is particularly very good, but I'm guessing he's probably going to be your leader. And I know he got away with murder in the Del Mar Derby on the turf last time. Like, I'm not really using that race in my opinion of him, but I mean, he's run some good races. He should be controlling speed in here. He's got a couple wins, or a win anyway at this distance and at this track. I mean, does anyone give this horse a chance to maybe get out there and keep going, or just no shot?
It depends on the track's playing, I think, but I don't love the 3-year-old versus older angle here. I think he isn't a 3-year-old that I'm waiting to see goes versus older. I think he would have been probably better off if he was kept in protected company. Maybe he can get loose and everybody else just doesn't track him down. But I thought I had to squint pretty hard to get that deep.
That's fair.
I will say there were two things that kind of stuck out at me when looking at this race originally, and they were the 8 and the 1 horse here. Slow Down Andy and Azul Coast here. Just glaring at the kind of average speed figures. Although it doesn't really look like it from a Kieran speed points like side necessarily, there it looks like there might be a fair bit of speed in this race. And so, my eyes kind of start looking at, all right, well, who kind of have the best late pace figs, like who might be coming from just off of it, who's got like the best back speed. And both Slow Down Andy and Azul Coast have some very nice late pace figs. That doesn't necessarily mean anything like tangible, but at least like for me, like it's something that makes me like relook at a horse, right? If I see something like that. So Slow Down Andy, I tried to get there looking at it again, trying to figure out like, hey, this horse looks like a need the lead type. Why does he have the second best late pace fig in this field? Like what happened? So I kind of like try and like look through the races and figure out where Brisnet got that from. I guess Brisnet really liked that Los Al Derby, gave him a nice big late pace fig, but it was also off a slow pace, and he ended up losing that race anyways. So Azul Close was the other one. I didn't really like. I mean, we're like on Baffert number like 20 or whatever in this race. I think like they're probably taking into account like the native diver here, where he closed into a real slow pace, but did get up and win. And then, I mean, if you kind of go back, you got another couple hundreds here, which are generally really good late pace figs. So, I mean, if you thought that this race had a chance to melt down, those would be two horses I'd look at. I don't see it, but if there were more pace in this race, that would be a horse I would look at, and Azul Coast at 20-1. I think it would be a horse that I would try and use underneath in a try or a super, maybe even an exacta, as a horse that might just clunk up there for second or third. So, but at least that's kind of like I said. That's how I generally use the pace figs that Brisnet provides. Caleb thinks they're trash. Mark thinks Brisnet's trash. So, to each their own. So let's keep on moving on here. Number 9, the Unzip Me Stakes here. We're going to be going once again down the hill, 6.5 furlongs. And now I have to take a look because of Caleb's. We got 10 horses in here, Caleb. So the 1 does not exist. But it looks like Connie Swingle, the 5, is your favorite at 3-1. You got a bunch at 5-1. Island of Love, Briefcase Girl, Grace Adler, Delmona at 6-1. Brandon's My Lawyer 8-1, and then you got double digits on everybody else. Mark, where'd you land?
Yeah, no, I thought there was a fair bit of pace in this race. I wanted somebody who could kind of sit off that pace, watch the action, jock up, who could kind of understand pace dynamics. So I ended up on the 2, Delmona, I don't know, however you want to say it. Who is never missed the exacta, missed going this distance down the hill. Back into the Mullins barn where this one seemed to do her best running, and gets reunited with Rispoli. 6-1 in the morning line, I think is more than fair. For a horse that I think this is probably the trip. I think it may be one of those horses that just really loves this this down the hill 6.5 furlong trip, and seems to just make a ton of sense in here in a race that is fairly wide open.
Caleb, where'd you kind of land?
Yeah, so my top pick in here would be the morning line favorite, number 5, Connie Swingle. I think that I'm hoping you get a fair-ish price on this horse, just because Kyle Frey, not exactly a household name compared to the likes of Juan Hernandez or Rispoli. And there is some slightly dirty form from dirt races and whatever else, but the turf races here on her record are extremely strong. She does have 2 wins, going 6.5 down the hill at Santa Anita. You know that fits for her, and she's moving up in class a little bit. But most of these horses are moving up a little bit, with the exception of a couple horses who are dropping out of the Graded Stakes company. So yeah, I really do think Connie Swingle's a horse that can go to the front if the pace sets up that way. I think there's probably horses in here that are a little bit quicker, maybe like the number 1, Brandon's My Lawyer, or perhaps the number 3, Lexington Humor. So I think that more than likely Kyle Frey is going to sit probably about third. Has a nice outside draw with both of the speeds being to his inside. So I really do think Connie Swingle makes a lot of sense in here. But I want to say that I agree with Charles, and my kind of second pick in here is the horse that he mentioned in chat, who is number 9, Island of Love. So I kind of went back and forth on this horse because on time form, the horse does look too slow. But I also sort of get the impression this is a horse that's been running at the wrong distance for most of her career since shipping to America. She was a perfect 2 for 2 with just 2 absolutely dominant victories when racing in Rome. I get it. I don't know what she beat over there. Maybe it wasn't much. But it looks like the races she came out of have been somewhat lively, with a few horses coming back to win next time out. So with that being said, I'm thinking this horse maybe has just been going a little too far. Kodiak is one of the rare European sires who tend to produce better sprinters as opposed to routers or longer. So I think the cutback here does make a lot of sense, despite the fact that she does have a win at a mile. I think she's probably going to really appreciate the cutback. We oftentimes see cutbacks work very well for horses going from like 1 mile to 6.5 down the hill at Santa Anita. The outside draw is just absolutely perfect here. So she's a horse that I think you're going to get a good price on because her figs are maybe a little on the slow side. But I do think that the cutback here is going to move her way up compared to what she's shown so far.
So Caleb actually just lined up about 5 reasons that I actually landed on a price in here, and that's the 8. Tezzeret, I think is how you would say it, who is a horse that also is, getting that cutback in distance from him. You seem to have done her best running at a mile, getting that cutback to the 6.5 furlong distance, going down the hill. And you're getting Hector Barrios, who, we've noted from his Del Mar escapades that he was riding absolutely phenomenal at Del Mar. And the time form figure for that Del Mar Oaks, the last out, came back absolutely massive. So one of the second or third best in the in the field. So I'm wondering if this is also a horse that may have been going at the wrong distance, and maybe this shortening this one up just a touch might might have her might kind of be what she wants to do. So I thought Tezzeret at a bit of a price in here was pretty darn interesting. And again, for a lot of those sort of reasons that sort of Caleb outlined, outside drawn, this mile back to 6.5, those types of angles.
So my top pick in this race is Tezzeret, as Mark decided to steal my thunder.
Sorry, Josh.
Basically all the reasons he said. I like this horse coming off a nice Del Mar Oaks, kind of coming to a much softer field. Getting the cutback, is going to be going down the hill, is posted outside, gets turf god Hector Barrios aboard, and trained by Peter Miller, who just tends to win these types of races all the time. So I think there's a lot of positives. The price is going to be, I hope the price is going to be right at 12 to 1, but we'll see what the horse ends up going off at. How does the buyer look? Is the buyer competitive, or is it just a time form?
No, both time form and buyer have her pretty darn competitive. They gave her an 80 for that last out fig. Best in this field is sort of in that 82, 83 range, and time form gave her a 108, and I think the fastest in the field was like 109, 110.
Forget
So
it, guys, we're not getting a price. Fucking buyer ruining everything.
I really wonder if this field's big enough. I think you might actually get a price on this one. I think there's still a lot of people, and this is sort of like when Rispoli first kind of appeared on the scene. nobody knew who he was for the first year. It took people a little while to catch on that he was a really legit jock. So I wonder if, having whatever, a less known connections all the way around, you might still get close to that 12 to 1 morning line.
Yeah, I had a real hard time with this race because all the speed was drawn inside. Um, so I like I said, generally I look for outside speed or outside posts before I kind of I mean I really do look at these races outside in when I start capping them, and your controlling speed should probably be the one. Brandon's my lawyer, and he's going to be stuck on that inside post, which we already talked about. So not super interested there. I mean, although I think the only time that you can win from the rail is with speed, isn't that right, Caleb? Like you gotta
Yeah,
just get out
generally,
there.
if you can get out and not break everybody, that's your best chance.
So I mean, maybe I'd give an outside shot to this one just as kind of the controlling speed probably in this race, but oh my god, dude, no, it's over for us, Mark. Fucking, they got Tezzeret as the number one prime power as well. It's over for
Oh,
us, dude. No, this horse is
okay,
gonna be
maybe.
5-1,
Yeah.
4-1. Ugh. It was nice. It was nice knowing. I mean, look, even Island of Love is also number 2. Man, you might, if you like Connie Swingle, this you might get a price, or you might get the price you need on this horse. You might get the 3-1, or maybe even better. Who knows? But yeah. Any other horses you want to talk about here, Caleb?
Yeah, probably one or two actually. Briefly, fitting the theme of outside drawn semi speed, I think you have to look at the 10 horse Briefcase Girl a little bit, who is very lightly raced and a little bit slower than some of these on paper. But Carla Gaines, the trainer that brings her horses along pretty slowly. She rarely wins first out. They tend to improve with racing, and this is a horse that took a big step forward in her second start and then set a pretty fast pace at Del Mar in her third start in that optional 80 before tiring late. Probably just going a little too far, a little too early for this point of her career. I think she made some sense in here. And the other one that I thought was a little interesting was the number 6, Pammy's Ready, who I don't love the company she's been keeping. I don't know that she's really been in the best races, but I do sort of think this is a kind of like the other Peter Miller horse, if we can make that an angle, who does have good figures on time form. Kind of the only reason I would look at this horse is time form things come back in the ballpark that she could realistically step forward as still a 3-year-old, and it wouldn't surprise me. So those are two horses I thought would make my ticket in some form or fashion.
Yeah, I tried to give the 6 kind of a little bit of a look as the most outside drawn of the speed, I guess you can kind of say in that race. Um, but I don't know. I really really just like this 8 a lot, and I'm really sad that everyone else is gonna like the 8 a lot. But them's the breaks. Mark, was there anything else, or are you ready to move on?
Nah, I'm good here.
All right, race 10. 6 furlongs, dude. On top of it, Mark's on the fucking horse, dude. That horse is gonna get crushed.
Horse gonna be 7
Oh,
to
dude,
2.
I'm so upset. God. Race 10, 6 furlongs on the turf. Maiden 61,000. I landed on 2 horses here. My top pick in this race is actually the AE, the 13 Canthara. But I don't know if this horse is going to draw in. Really, when you kind of look at this field, I didn't see a lot of turf pedigree in this race. And I really thought that the 13 was kind of your heaviest turf influence of the race. So we'll see if the horse draws in. John Sheriff's, this is all plus for him. First on grass, second career race, dirt to turf. I mean, you get Victor Espinoza aboard, which doesn't exactly instill confidence in me on the turf. I think he's fine, but he's not. He's a shell of what he used to be. But outside of that, I also landed on. I think it's the favorite now. The 2 Mimamita. For Jonathan Wong and Jose Valdivia Jr. I thought that last race was pretty good. That last race, I think, fits in here. Moving into the Jonathan Wong barn is always a plus move. So I could see this horse definitely taking another step forward off that race. And wouldn't be surprised to see this horse, a fairly short price favorite in this race for the field size that we got. I mean, those are kind of the two horses I landed on. The fact that Caleb laughed as soon as I said the 13 was my top pick, I'm guessing that's where you landed, Caleb.
Yes, that's exactly where I landed. And I'm like, I'm gonna be clever. I'm gonna pick the AE, but like, no. All the reasons you said. Sheriff's never, very, very, very rarely wins first time out. This horse was clearly given a race last time, and I would expect to be much more lively here. And her second career start, just kind of hope she draws in and can work out a trip from that far post. Beyond that, I really struggled to come up with opinions anywhere after the 13 horse. So I really do hope that 13 draws in. A lot of those horses exit the August 25th race at Del Mar. That I just think that was a bad race. I don't think I want anybody out of that field. And I understand, a couple horses maybe had some trouble. Perhaps like the number 7 blew the brake and made a nice run late to, make up some ground, and other horses maybe flashed, but like I just don't think that was a good race. I don't think I want anybody out of there. So I kind of like begrudgingly ended up similar to Josh with the 13 is my top pick. The 2 is probably the most logical of the shorter priced horses. And then beyond that, I mean, I kind of took a look at a horse like maybe the 8 if I was going to take a first time starter. I know that George Papadrumu has awful stats with first time starters. It does seem like, and maybe this is anecdotal, but I feel like he's had 1 or 2 winners at Del Mar this past summer, either first or second time starters. The horse seems to have speed given some of the pretty quick workouts in the morning. And I think there is pretty good turf pedigree here, including being half sibling to a turf winner. So maybe I would give this horse a shot. I mean, Bravo does pretty well up for George when they team up together. And Calvin Gwynn, the ownership, is one of the bigger owners in Cali, outside of the mega ownership syndicates like, My Racehorse or Stone Street or anybody else. So, yeah, I mean, I think that the number 8 might be a first timer I'd give a glance to, but this is truly a race that 13 does not draw in. I'm going to have a very hard time with.
Mark, before you go, I need you to explain something to me. John Massey said if the 13 draws in, Espinosa is going to Chucky Lopez that horse. And then he said straight up Chris DiCarlo, which is why Josh loves it. What does that mean?
I think that means he's going full send.
Who the hell is Chucky Lopez? Should I know who he is?
I'm pretty sure that's Paco Lopez, but he just made him Chucky because it's getting close to Halloween.
Okay.
I mean, it's Massey. He's got some reference that's cryptic that none of us quite get. So it's just how he rolls.
All I know about Chris DiCarlo is what Capone said. He's from Jersey and he likes to steal things. All I remember. Mark, where did you land on this one?
I mean, I was going to try to make some sort of creative Joe Bravo joke here, but not witty enough to do it on the fly. So again, I think Charles B had it pretty accurately here. That this is really a dart throwing contest. This one's pretty darn impossible. So I just picked or whatever connections that I sort of thought were interesting. I sort of went 1, 2, 5. I think of the horses that have a race, the 2 made the most sense. And then I picked the Juan and the Pasta horse. But there are a lot of trainers in here that do not fire well with their firsters. So unless somebody comes up on a clocker report as being, really training well in the mornings, it's a really tough race, and I would rather spread here and pick spots in earlier races and be more aggressive there and just have a lot of coverage on this race in sort of a pick 5 sequence. I have nothing really creative.
That whole statement was a defensive B. It sounded like
it was. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Man, I'll tell you, for as big as these fields were, we got through these races in record time. Luckily, I see John Massey's here, right? And I know, Mark, you're tired of talking about West Coast racing. So let's talk about a track near and dear to your heart, which is back.
Churchill.
No. Belmont at the Big A, Aqueduct.
Okay. It's Aqueduct. They're racing
Back.
at Aqueduct. It's Aqueduct. This
It's back.
back bullshit is absolutely absurd. It's freaking Aqueduct.
It's back. So Stephen Fox asking us to go over 5-horse field. So the Woodward. I'm just joking. We're not going to fucking waste time on the Woodward. Mark, what
How bad is that fucking race? Come on. Like, what? Come on. Like, I mean, it makes the Awesome Again look like the Kentucky Derby.
Oh, man. Like, you couldn't even draw, like, one other good horse in here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to even, like, think off the top of my head, like, who that horse could be. But, like, not even one. I mean, the second best horse in this race is Keep Me in Mind.
The second best horse is probably that pony that comes out with Life is Good.
God. Yeah, I got no words. I mean, this is just this.
I thought we weren't going
This
to
is
talk about
Naira.
this race.
We weren't
And
going to
now
talk
we're
about this
talking
race,
about this
but
Naira.
Caleb
Okay,
was
cool.
just.
I had to get it out. That was
What
killing
did you
me.
want to look at, or Mark? What did you have capped? Race 9?
8, 9, 10 are all win in your in races for the Breeders' Cup. So I thought this sequence was actually fairly interesting. Starting off with the Miss Grillo. And I didn't
Miss
know.
Grillo,
I think
you get a 6-5 and a 9-5. This is interesting to you.
yeah, because I'm on the 10-1.
Go on. Are you feeling okay?
No, I actually am. I think Georgia Spirit, the one who's in here. I mean, I would imagine Pratt gets off this horse because he's jumping off to ride the Chad Brown horse because it's Chad, and of course he's going to ride the Chad. Manny, who's been riding honestly really decent all summer, gets up for Georgia Breu, who he happens to be 30% when he rides for Georgia Breu or Jorge Abreu. Horse with a ton of should be near the pace. Pratt was able to close. This one has shown that she can pass horses. A horse that I actually think, obviously we don't know how these more spirits run. There have not been a lot of them that have actually made the starting gate yet, but I think this one should stretch out just fine, at least from what I'm looking at. The pedigree says that should be okay. So I landed on the one, Georgia Spirit.
Caleb, did you take a look at this race?
I did, yeah. I don't hate Mark's pick there. That's a horse that I'll probably have on a ticket. I think this is a race that really has no speed. It's a turf route at Naira, so you just know that some fucking no-hoper is going to go out there and wire it most likely. Saez doesn't have a mount in the race, so you can't really assume it's him. So it's a tricky race. I mean, you have horses that are stretching out from sprints that didn't make the lead, but perhaps just inherit the lead from their natural, run style coming out of those sprints, stretching out to a mile and a 16th. I did land on a different horse, though, although the same trainer, which was the number 4, Alluring Angel. And I'm kind of just taking a shot here of a horse that last year in Angle that I think we all saw worked quite well was horses that were exiting races at Kentucky Downs, came back to run very, very well in their next start. I don't know if it was something with the track, perhaps getting some extra fitness or stamina into those horses or whatever else. But I thought this horse ran a really nice race at Kentucky Downs. Most of the meet, it was difficult to make up ground in the stretch over there. Not necessarily wire to wire kind of races, but if you weren't pretty close when they hit the uphill part of the stretch, it was tough to make up a ton of ground. So this horse just missed, going 6.5. Has a pedigree that seems to suggest she'll just love stretching out to a mile and a 16th here and probably even farther. So this is a horse that I think does make a lot of sense in here, Alluring Angel. I do like Mark's pick as well, but I'd go with number 4.
Number 4, Alluring Angel. Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't really have time to look at this race. I kind of agree with you, Caleb. Upon like just first look, it doesn't look like there's any kind of speed. I mean, honestly, Brisnet likes the one to kind of get out there on the lead. I don't know if it's probably because the horse was sprinting, and stretching out, and if you kind of look at that dirt, the dirt form The horse was close up. I mean, it was pretty close up too. I mean, it was only two lengths off in the 5.5, and now you're stretching out. Where a lot of these horses were that far out, routing. So that's pretty interesting. I'm kind of surprised. This 5 maybe is as long of a price as he is. I'm just kidding. I know Jose's not aboard. He gets on the Horacio de Paz, stays on the Horacio de Paz horse. But I mean, I guess moving from state bred into open company is probably the reason. But that might be a horse that I kind of take an outside look at. But definitely we'll need to take a kind of a closer look at these races here. Race 9, the Aqueduct Turf Sprint. I don't know why it says Belmont, or it should say the back turf sprint. Mark, back turf sprint. All right,
I'm just trying to push my buttons now.
I'm absolutely pushing your buttons.
trying.
I've been pushing your buttons for days, and you just haven't even realized it yet.
Years,
but
years.
but we're going 6 furlongs here on the turf. We got a full field of 12. Your morning line favorite is going to be Arzak 4-1, Thin White Duke at 9-2, Voodoo Zip at 5-1, Dancing Buck 6-1, Chewing Gum 8-1. Bunch of them at longer prices. Greeley and Ben, he's not scratched. I mean, he's an MTO here, but have they raced this horse yet? Oh, they did. I mean, this horse scratched like 20 times, so I'm surprised they actually ever raced this horse at Saratoga. But Caleb, where did you kind of land here?
This is not a winning you're in, so I didn't handicap it.
All right, good. Mark, you landed on the 2 Arzak here. Why?
I did not. I ended up on the 4.
Really? Okay, I'll take the 2 Arzak then. Why are you in land on the 4,
Okay.
Mark?
Did you look at the 4 before he answers that? Did you look at the 4?
Oh, let me guess. JJ and Thomas More. Wow.
That's like you with it's like the worst version of you with E8s. The horse coming out of the race.
No, I thought that the two Arzak makes a fair bit of sense. The other horse that I thought was a little bit interesting, and I know we always talk about Monmouth figures being completely suspect, but that was the 3, Nothing Better. This horse seems to be in really good form as of late. This seems to be kind of the trip that he wants. And he's very much an every other type horse. And you're getting 12-1 in the morning line. You're seeing the the local jock who was on for those last 2 wins shipping up. And again, we always bash Monmouth figs, but we've seen some of these Monmouth horses ship up to to Aqueduct and be somewhat live already this meet. So I thought Nothing Better in here made a fair bit of sense at a bit of a price as well. And I do like 7 cents. I do legitimately like the 4 for no real good reason other than I don't think there's a huge standout in this race. I don't think there's a horse that jumps off paper as being much better than everybody else. I thought you could go a few directions, and why not go back to the well for an angle that tends to work for me.
I was gonna say, wasn't Value Proposition a Chad horse, but apparently he gave up on him, huh?
I think finally gave up.
Yeah.
I mean,
isn't it funny? Isn't it funny that this horse was going off at like odds on 1.2 to 1, 1.3 to 1 out of the Chad Brown barn, 20 to 1.
Well, you're not just out of the Chad Brown barn. You're very, very much out of the Chad Brown barn when you're in Gedalia Goodman's barn.
You're getting Eric Cancel up, who has what the last he's 0 for 62 on his last turf mounts, I think is the stat I heard. And he had a few of them today, so he's probably 0 for 65, 0 for 66, something like that on turf.
I love that Ryan Hauer is out for Korean barbecue, and he's got us up. do not put us on the grill, please. But have some soju for sure. Soju drunk is a fun drunk. Have you guys ever been soju drunk?
I never have. I don't think I've ever had soju.
That's a good drunk. It's like being
really?
It's a good one. It just creeps up on you because they just keep on bringing bottles of it out, dude. When you're at Korean barbecue, man, I don't know, man. It's good times. Race 10, the Champagne. Shout out to our buddy Andrew Champagne. We're going to be going a mile here for 2-year-olds. I was not. I mean, Caleb already knows the horse I like, so we really don't need to talk about who I like. But Caleb, where did you land here?
This race gives me fits, actually. My normal rule is, if you just scroll down to the Brisnet race summary page, like where it shows the pace figs that are imaginary, what do you notice about one horse compared to the other five?
Oh, you got the lone P.
You got a lone angle. I mean, I know it's an angle you talk about, Josh. You got a lone closer here with Blazing Sevens. I mean, it's a tough to really apply that angle in this kind of a race because these horses are so lightly raced. But there's very much only one horse that has any interest in passing horses that he's proven anyway, which is Blazing Sevens. My issue with him is that he's just slow. Like I needed to see something out of him in that hopeful, and that's a race that was won by a closer, and that closers generally performed well. And he was still beaten 9 lengths by Gulfport, who I also don't like in here. So, I mean, I think he's a clunker and probably gets a piece, but I don't know that he's my top pick in here. I ended up on the number 2, Top Recruit. This is a horse that won at first asking at Churchill, went to Prairie Meadows, and a lot of people might say, oh, you lost at Prairie Meadows. Your horse is a bum. But lost to a horse named Tyler's Tribute, who many of you may know actually owns the fastest speed figure of any 2-year-old in the country right now. I think he's posted a time form fig of 120 in his last fig, unadjusted. I don't know what it ended up being after the fact.
That horse is a legit monster.
Yeah, we'll see if he can take his game out of town on the road, but no shame at the very least in Top Recruit going in to face Tyler's Tribute in his backyard and getting walloped there.
I heard Tyler's Tribe is not going to ship out of Iowa, much like Winks didn't ship out of Australia.
So yeah, I think Top Recruit, came back and kind of shored up that form with a win in the stakes race at Alex Park last time out. Beat a horse named Curly Jack, who came back to win the Iroquois, I think it was, at Churchill. Beating 2 extremely highly regarded horses in Damon's Mound and Echo Again, who were both supposed to be absolute monsters that just really failed to get the distance, it seems like. So I think Top Recruit, it's a little questionable whether this horse is really going to stretch out to a mile, but given the one-turn mile configuration and the fact that he did win going 7, if Irad can work out a trip and manage to get off the pace a little bit in here, I think he could make some noise.
Yeah, are you concerned at all about the jock downgrade on the 2?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, going from Gerardo Corrales to Irad. I mean, that's a pretty big downgrade. So I'm a little concerned there. I mean, clearly I landed on the 1 here on Diamo Firenze. You got the E8 on the rail. I think this is probably your speed of the speed in this race, but I don't know. I think, Caleb, you brought up a really good point that, and honestly, one I didn't consider was that literally all of these horses have basically won on the front end, with the exception of Blazing Sevens. And I will tell you that my brother-in-law can only name 1 slot machine, and that slot machine is Blazing Sevens. So I don't know. Maybe there's a little family angle there. I don't know. Yeah, that's a really, really good point. I mean, Gulfport, didn't get the lead once and, didn't win. So, and he's going to be posted out way outside there. Yeah, Blazing Sevens is definitely going to be, I think, on some tickets with kind of what you pointed out there, Caleb. Like I said, I looked at this race super quickly, but I've liked Andiamo Firenze the last couple times he's ran. I thought he ran a pretty nice race in the funny side there. It was in the slop, won by 5.5 there. I mean, did he really beat anybody? Probably not. It was in the slop as well, but I'll give this horse another shot there on the rail. Jose Lascano and Kelly Breen there. Mark, where did you kind of land here?
Yeah, I pretty much the same as Caleb here. Top Recruit is my top choice in here. Rad gets off the 1 to get onto the 2. Horse seems to be, improving. I think every excuse to not fire in that Prairie Meadows race, given who he was running versus. And I guess I think my one angle here isn't so much who I'm on, but it's who I'm against. And I'm very much against Gulfport in this spot. I think Gulfport probably takes a lot of money for connections and angles and everything else. And this horse is just a no running in New York. Those two Churchill races were, he was very, very, very well backed, very well regarded. Everybody thought he was going to come to Saratoga and trounce on everybody. And he just doesn't seem like he really wanted to win. And I know a bunch of people have said, oh, well, he got checked really hard in the Saratoga Special and he didn't handle the going and the hopeful. And there's just too many excuses on a horse that I think once again is going to go off at probably shorter than Morning Line. It's just a horse I want no part of. I would much rather go after, you guys talked about Blazing Sevens. You guys talked about Josh's one on the rail, I think makes a ton of sense. Rosario getting, the 3 verifying Rosario up for Brad Cox, though that horse won very easily at first asking. That one could be a very good one. I think there's a lot of other interesting ways in there to go. Even the Gargan horse looked very, very impressive at first asking, the 4 Champion Stream. So I think I would just be very against what's probably going to be a pretty short priced favorite who has burnt money his last 2 races in Gulfport.
Mark, so when I looked at this race, I thought I had like a typo, honestly, on my form, because I can't understand why verifying is supposed to be a favorite in this race. And David Aragona is extremely sharp, so I'm assuming, like, what did the buyer come back? Was it like a 98 buyer that I'm just missing? Because on time form,
no,
the horse set a relatively slow pace, and that race hasn't come back particularly live. So, like, what am I missing other than the fact this horse is a half brother to Midnight Bisou that makes this horse supposed to be 9-5 in this field?
Yeah, it makes absolutely no sense to me. And I wonder, is that Aragona just saying, oh, people are going to hear the horse is a half to Midnight Bisou and therefore take money? I don't think the Morning Line was absolutely head scratching to me. I have no idea why. When the buyer came back as an 85, time form gave the horse a 95, and somebody like Top Recruit, the buyer came back in 86, only 1 point faster, but a 108 time form. So I don't know, is it just verifying supposed to take a step forward or what? But I was really head scratching at why that Morning Line was as short as it was. It made absolutely no sense to me.
Not only is it a half to Midnight Bisou, but it's by Justify. So Justify has been winning at some like ridiculous clip.
The one's a half to Frenzy Fire. So we can talk connections or talk who's related to who all day long. I think at the end of the day that's a way overrated thing. But I think it's a bad Morning Line. In as much as Aragona does things very well, I just think it's a bad Morning Line.
Mark just pointed out that the fact that Jose Ortiz and Irad Ortiz are brothers is overrated. So please, everyone on Twitter, just forget about it. Thank you, Mr. Mark Abstan. I didn't even look at this 3 horse. I wasn't really interested in. So of course this horse is just going to boom us all to Kingdom Come.
That horse was a huge hype horse at Saratoga as well. Was a works horse and everything else. Was it just the horse wasn't asked? And I don't know. I don't know. The horse was the best, but it wasn't. I was there that day, and it was not visually crazy impressive. Or there's, I don't get it.
All right, we still got a little bit of time. Did you guys look at the ACAC at all?
I did.
Yeah. So how does Speaker's Corner lose, Caleb?
He needs a break and he's out of form. He's been campaigned pretty aggressively since last year. He's had 6 starts this year, and you could really argue that his last 3 he's gone the wrong direction. His Carter win was very impressive, and I'm not going to hold against him the fact he lost a Flightline. Life is good, but he also lost in the process of losing to Flightline. Life is good. He was kind of buried by Happy Saver and Laurel River, American Theorem, and Senor Buscador in the process. So I just think he might be a horse that's had a lot of racing this summer He is shipping back from California and then racing on just over a month. That's a kind of a tough thing to do. And I kind of just think this is a horse that is yelling out I need a break. I don't really like this spot for this horse. It is a relatively soft field, so maybe they just found a field bad enough that a 75% Speaker's Corner can win. But I'm going to play again. I don't know if I'm going to play the race because it's Churchill. But if I was, I'd be playing against Speaker's Corner here for sure.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with everything Caleb said. That I would be playing against Speaker's Corner if I at a very probably short price Speaker's Corner in this race. I don't know what it is, but he's tailed off his last 3 races. And I mean, okay, Flightline Life is good, cool. I get it. You're probably weren't beating either one of those, but that last race, that Pat O'Brien, it just seemed to be way too bad to be true. And I think there's other, horses with upside in here. I don't know if it's I think Caleb pretty well summed it up.
So who did you land on then, Mark?
I landed on 3 horses. I thought Untreated, the Pletcher horse, shipping in, who happens to be 3 for 3 at the distance, made a lot of sense. I thought the 3 Folsom for Brad Cox made a fair bit of sense. Horse that does seem to get over the Churchill going pretty well and does pretty well going this distance. And the other horse I thought was a little bit interesting was the 10. Twilight Blue for Joe Sharp, horse that's never missed the exact in 5 tries at Churchill. And again, another horse that, this kind of appears to be the distance. This 1 mile trip at Churchill seems to do darn well at. So those are the 3 that I thought were pretty interesting.
What did you think, Caleb?
Yeah, me and Mark see this race very similar. I like all 3 of the horses he mentioned. The number 10, Twilight Blue, I'm not completely sold on. It just sort of seems like a horse that doesn't put together consecutive wins very often, although always does show up. The only other horse I'd probably talk about would be the number 5, 3 Technique, who I think has really improved in each of his 4 starts since switching off the synthetic back onto the dirt. Didn't really love that sloppy surface at Keeneland, but then has kind of improved in each start ever since. Beat Injunction and South Bend in the next Go Stakes at Churchill, then came back and ran a mediocre 4th at Churchill in that optional 150. But that race was pretty stacked with Caddo River endorsed and a few other pretty nice horses in there. But really that last race at Churchill in the Hanshin Stakes, where he lost to Cody's Wish by a neck. Cody's Wish came out of that race to actually beat Jackie's Warrior and ran a huge race. So I think this is a horse that's just heading the right direction, that is kind of taking these small step forwards that maybe isn't immediately apparent on the race records, but is kind of apparent on the speed figures, and I think could get overlooked here due to some low profile connections. I thought 3 Technique were pretty interesting here.
I did. I had 3 Technique marked down as well. My only concern with 3 Technique is he doesn't win very often. He's 4 for 25 lifetime. He's just not a horse that I don't know if it's that killer instinct or what it is, but just doesn't get it done. Definitely a horse I'd be scared to leave off like a trifecta. I think he makes a ton of sense underneath. And maybe today's his day and does get it done. But I do agree with you on 3's Technique as well.
Yeah, 3 Technique ended up being my top pick in this race. I like 3 Technique in here. Just kind of thinking that, in a normal world, I think maybe I would just single Speaker's Corner on the rail, controlling speed, cash it. But there is some other speed, and it's cheap speed. So I think it's not going to be afraid to really push Speaker's Corner. I think like the 10, Twilight Blue, maybe somebody like Injunction, tries to go out there as well. And I really think that if like 3 Technique, I don't think needs a ton of pace in front of him. He just needs a little bit, and I think he's going to get enough pace, I think, for him to run his race. And that last race on Brisnet looks mighty good, and he's coming right back in a mile here at Churchill. So I love 3 Technique in this spot.
Time for him also love that last out race. So.
And then was the Lucas Classic? Is that another one that you looked at, Mark, or no?
I did. I don't have anything creative to say about it, but I did take a look at it.
You like Art
Um,
Collector?
no, I no, I did not. I went with the two logicals here. Ended up on Happy Saver and Hot Rod Charlie. I think the race goes through one of the two of them. Yeah, You know, I don't know which one makes the most sense. Happy Saver has seemed to have developed a little bit of a case of second-itis as of late, but again, that's some of the Life is Good and the Flight Line and Olympiads of the world who none of them are here today. So I thought, and obviously. A Hot Rod Charlie was, very short priced after shipping back from the Dubai World Cup. I don't know if he needed a race or two to kind of get everything sorted out. I do think that Whitney was sort of an oddly. I mean, obviously Life is Good was the best there, but sort of an oddly run occurrence of that race. So I think that it probably goes through Happy Saver or Hot Rod Charlie, and wouldn't really want to get too much more creative than that with anybody else in the field.
Doesn't Hot Rod Charlie kind of suck? I
Yeah, but
mean,
everybody else in this race does too, right?
yeah, but if I'm going to take a horse that
This is the
sucks,
this
I
is
don't
the
want a
B
horse
this is
at
the
8 to
B tier of this
5.
division. This is the B tier of this division, right? Like, and there's none of the A tier is here, so he's probably the best of the rest.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but if I'm going to take a horse that sucks, I don't want to take a horse at 8 to 5, especially when any of the regular jocks decide it's not worth the trip to come down. I mean, I know Gaff's good at Churchill, but you'd still have to see Pratt decide it's worth his time to fly in. Yeah, I mean, I guess Happy Saver looks okay. I'm not like adamantly against that horse, but I've just never thought he was very good, to be honest. He gets a lot of second places lately. I would want more of like an outsider. I actually kind of agree with Charles B. I think that Rich Strike gets back to Churchill, where he's had a ton, pretty much all of his success as a racehorse, and it should get an honest pace with Art. Even though it's a small field with Art Collector, Hot Rod Charlie, the pace should be honest, if not wicked fast. I don't think he's going to get the credit he deserves, but I think returning to Churchill, a surface he likes, and I think he kind of proved that his Kentucky Derby wasn't a total fluke when he ran a pretty nice race in the Travers. I mean, he lost to Epicenter, of course, but Epicenter, Cyberknife, and Zandon are all no slouches. I mean, that's your Travers winner, your Haskell winner, and your Pennsylvania Derby runner-up. I mean, those are good horses. I think Rich Strike here will need some help up front, but I think he might get it, and I think he might get a decent enough price that I've just seen enough of Hot Rod Charlie, Art Collector, and Happy Saver that I would agree with Charles and take Rich Strike here.
I love Rich Strike here. I love Rich Strike here, dude. I mean, if you look at that Travers, I mean, I really think he backed a bunch of like his Kentucky Derby up with that Travers run. I mean, he finished fourth by 5 lengths, but there was like a length combined between him, Cyberknife, and Zandon. Like they
Yes.
basically almost finished like blanket, and I mean, Cyberknife would be like 2 to 5 in this field, and Zandon would probably be even money. Like, so why not Rich Strike in here? And like you said, that wasn't exactly a fast pace at the Travers, and he was able to close in perfectly fine. He likes Churchill. He's getting back here, and he's got a bunch of bums in front of him. I don't know. I like Hot Rod Charlie, but I agree with you, Caleb. Like I bet him last time because I thought that I was getting a decent enough price to try and get around Life is Good. He disappointed me, and now he's going on the shit list, especially because he's coming in at 8 to 5 here. And Hot Rod Charlie on paper is faster, but I don't know. I'm the same with you. I'm looking for an outsider. I like Rich Strike. I like. I was trying to talk myself into Happy Saver. I was a big Mystic Guide fan, and Happy Saver put Mystic Guide into retirement. And so I guess by transitive property, I became a Happy Saver fan. And then he decided to just be a complete shitbox. So I don't know. I kind of agree with Mark. He's kind of the seconditis right now. I mean, maybe I give Art Collector another shot. I don't know. I'm just never impressed by Art Collector. Like, he wins the races he's supposed to win, and that's about it. At least that's the way like he's always come off to me. Maybe this is a race he's supposed to win. Maybe he gets out in the front end and he just wins. I don't know. These are just a bunch. This is like, I feel like Caleb with the marathon turf division. Like, I just hate all these horses. So I'll take a shot with with Rich Strike. I tried to get there a little bit with King Fury, thinking, hey, maybe, maybe a little bit of a layoff and being a little bit more lightly raised compared to last year. But I mean, I don't know. He's never really done it for me either. So I'll
I
take
mean,
Rich Strike here.
who am I to question horse racing god Eric Reed? But why the hell is Rich Strike in this race? Like, isn't normally the plan that you protect your 3-year-olds until the Breeders' Cup Classic, and then you try to run them versus older? There's no 3-year-old restricted race at Churchill that he could run this horse in and avoid the olders and get him a softer spot, collect a check, and then point him towards the Breeders' Cup, which I would assume they're going to go Breeders' Cup Classic with him if they can, if they can get there. It just seems like this is a bizarre spot to put this horse and run him versus older here. I get
I
it.
mean,
I get it.
I think that if he can beat older, that 100% legitimizes him as a stallion prospect, as opposed to somebody like who's the fucking horse I hate, Country House, right? Have you heard anything about any of Country House's breeding or nothing, right?
Well,
So
you won't see his firsts for a year, for what, 2 years or something. But
yeah, but like you haven't seen like. Didn't he go to stud last year? So wouldn't you have started seeing some of
yeah,
his horses at
well,
sales?
yeah, you could have potentially
Did
seen
you hear
weanlings,
Caitlin
but
Free talking about how good the Country Houses looked? The whole subdivision? You didn't hear anything about the subdivision. So I don't know. I just think that if he can get a win here against older, right, not embarrass himself in the classic, then they can retire him and they can go to the shed and they can be like, hey, look, horse won the Derby, backed it up against older, ran a nice Travers. Like, yeah, like he's not going to be A-tier prospect, but they'll be able to send them to maybe like New York or Florida or something, get some nice state breds out of him. Like, I don't know. I think that's the whole reason you run against older here. And you know what? I think he got a soft enough spot that he might be able to do it.
I just don't think the older I mean, Breeders' Cup's in a month, right? Like, I mean, how much do we think these 3-year-olds are going to step forward between now and November 5th? I just,
that's valid. That's valid.
July, sure, June, July, yeah, but it's October. I mean, I'm not that worried about it, especially for a small barn that I don't imagine is going to, ship across the country to find a 3-year-old race. I don't know where else you'd really run, and I mean that as I just don't know what graded stake 3-year-old restricted races are around this time that wouldn't run too close to Breeders' Cup.
David asking is Hot Rod Charlie the best? Is this the best he has ever faced?
I don't understand the question. Is
If
this
the best field he's faced?
that Hot Rod Charlie's faced or that Rich
Yeah.
Strike is faced?
Yeah. Or sorry, I think he's talking about, he might be talking about Rich Strike if Hot Rod Charlie's the best horse he's faced. I would think Epicenter.
I think Epicenter.
I would say Epicenter, yeah. But of course, I have an Epicenter soft spot. So
And he bodied Epicenter the first time.
no, the crazy Dubai shipper bodied Epicenter the first time, going suicidal on the front end.
Yeah. Is Epicenter the favorite if he runs here? Absolutely. He's like
Absolutely.
He's like 2
He's
to
even
5,
money.
1 to 5. No, I think he's way shorter than that.
4 to 5 even money.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with Caleb.
And Jimmy Two Eyes saying, "Don't get me started with Country House. We could be here all night.
Yeah,
we could be here all night. We can talk about the black cat all over again."
That was painful for, I think, all of us. All of us, that was quite painful for.
All right. So we haven't really talked about this off the stream yet. But what are you guys feeling for Saturday? You guys want to do Santa Anita? You want to get out of the way early and take a look at a little bit of Aqueduct? What are you guys feeling?
I will be unavailable, so you guys.
Caleb, what are you feeling?
Yourselves.
I'm up for anything, honestly. I think Santa Anita probably has a slightly better card, but I haven't really looked at the Belmont card or the Aqueduct card or the Aqueduct card. But we can. I'm game for either one. I'll be around all weekend, so I'm flexible.
Okay.
Yep. But Josh, it does run tomorrow that we could do a stream for.
You want to talk about Meadowlands, don't you?
Of course I do. Of course I do.
I haven't looked at all. I know Capone just did. Andrew Capone from Horse Racing Nation was on with our buddy Chase. Did a podcast for Friday's card. So it's on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network.
That
The
track
notorious,
just makes it
notorious
just
OTWL.
makes sense. It's a wonderful, wonderful place.
But yeah, we can talk about it. But yeah, we will. I'll send something out on YouTube and Twitter tomorrow. Figure out what time we're starting. If we start at like 11, we can catch the beginning of Churchill and Aqueduct, and kind of leave Santa Anita for others, or we can do a little bit later in the afternoon. I don't know. We'll talk about it. But yeah, for Mark and Caleb, I'm Josh. Catch us at ontherwronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. Obviously, you have our YouTube here. Buy a shirt, read a blog, like and subscribe, all that fun stuff. And we will catch you guys on Saturday.